your rest, and you're listening to Jet on Metal Messiah Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight we have with us all the way from Australia the metal band Eternal Rest, and they're here to tell us a little bit about the band and their new album, The Picture of Hatred. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
So, Michael, tell us a little history behind the band, who started the band, where you guys are from, what we've released so far, tours, and that kind of thing.
We started almost probably 15 years ago, or close to 15 years ago. Me and Jake, when we were like 13, 14, we started in a small country town in Queensland called Toowoomba. And we've since released a couple of albums with a bunch of different members. Since then, we've done a bunch of tours and got on Shannon and Anthony, and we've been killing it for the last couple of years. In terms of band history, I guess we basically just have been trying to write death metal since we were 14, and we're still doing it today.
And Michael, you guys have 2 full-length albums under your belt, and you're about to drop your 3rd one in June. So tell us about the previous 2 and how the band has progressed over the years.
So the first one, we started off, I think we liked a lot of different bands, and we hadn't really played that much live yet. So instrumentally, at least, like musically, it was very based off, I guess basically bands that we liked rather than trying to understand live experience. I think over the years, and probably the biggest difference between this 3rd album and the last 2, is that once you play live enough, you realize there's certain things that translate in certain like contexts or scenarios. So now a lot of the music we write is based off more or less trying to be technical or like a certain band we like, and more about finding our own sound and how that translates to the audiences that we actually like or connect with. So yeah, I think this latest album has a bit more of a focus on riffs that we like rather than riffs we want to sound like.
So Jake, what was like your first big tour, and how did you all feel embarking out on that tour?
We had done some touring before this one, just our own sort of Australian touring, but our first, I guess, big tour would have been in Japan with Origin from the United States. We were all pretty young at the time, so we were pretty nervous about the whole thing and just not knowing what to expect from just doing everything off our own back. But we were looked after extremely well and became really good friends with the band. And also following that tour, we even signed with the same management. So they helped us out a lot, which has been awesome.
And Jake, who are some of the bands that you've played with over the years?
Over the years, we've had the privilege to play with a huge amount of different bands, and honestly, a lot of bands that I'd never even dreamed that we would even share the stage with. I guess a few that have always stood out: Black Dahlia Murder, Behemoth, Suffocation, Decapitated, Trivium, Psychroptic, Condemned, Hate Eternal, Vader.
So Anthony, while you guys have been out there touring stuff, what would you say has been like one of the worst things that happened to you guys out there on tour?
On our European tour in 2016, our van broke down a couple of times, and we ended up having to spend a few nights in this random little town in Italy, and had to play catch up with the rest of the tour. So we ended up having to drive basically through the arse end of Hungary to try and catch up with everyone, and we had nowhere to stay, like not a lot of money, not really a lot of options, and we're, starting to get hungry and all of that. And our driver was pretty close with the Hells Angels at the time. So unbeknownst to us, we were actually driving towards a Hells Angels clubhouse in Hungary, which is where we spent the night.
And Anthony, have you guys got to meet any of your idols while you're out there on tour, or people that you have looked up to or have inspired you?
Yeah, we met the guys from Hate Eternal in our last show on our Europe tour in 2016 in Rotterdam. Everyone finished the show. We're all standing outside with a bunch of the bands, just chilling out, and Eric Rattan rocks up with a couple of lit joints, and just starts passing them around. So that was a pretty good memory. But we got really stoned with Eric Rattan from Hate Eternal. I have to say that's probably one of my best memories.
So Jake, you have a new album coming out in June, The Picture of Hatred, off of Gore House Production Records. So tell us how you guys approached this album musically.
We approached this album musically quite differently, I guess, to the other two releases, like Michael mentioned earlier. We definitely stripped everything back and had the opportunity to really spend a lot of time demoing and in the pre-production stage of writing before we'd then take all the tracks to the jam room and flesh them out.
And Anthony, tell us a little bit about how you guys go through the whole writing process.
I guess our writing process is pretty straightforward. Usually Jake and I will work on sort of the base sort of foundation of a lot of the songs, get all the riffs down and I guess some of the grooves, and then we'll kind of make demo tracks and release that to the other guys in the band so they can do their thing with it. Shannon will add the vocals and Michael will come in and add some pretty hectic drums, and we kind of just piece it all together right at the end. A lot of pre-production and a lot of demoing.
So Shannon, what are some of the things that influenced you and inspired you to write the lyrics?
Most of the inspiration that came from the lyrics was based on personal experience and observation.
So right now we are talking to Shannon, who is the vocalist of the band. So Shannon, tell us about some of the stories behind a few of the songs.
All of the songs on the album are actually written about conversations that I've had with real people. Some of the people will never know, and some of them I don't even know their names, and yeah.
So Michael, when the listener listens to this album for the first time, what could they expect?
I think when the listener listens to this for the first time, they can expect to digest it a lot quicker, for one. I think we really put a lot of focus into riffs that we like, and in that sense we came up with them pretty organically in the jam room. So if we like them the first or second time around, there's a good chance the listener will too. We tried to offer a lot of sort of punch and hook and just things that translate instantly rather than translate across multiple listens. Maybe certain sections will have that too, but the first time listeners can expect basically a sort of just banger approach to songwriting that we were trying to hopefully get stuck in people's heads as quickly as possible.
So Shannon, tell us a little bit about the cover art and the artist and what you guys wanted this art to convey.
The artwork is a good example of what I think we're trying to convey about tackling the issues of mental health. Being written from the perspective of a person possessed by anger and misery, it forms the message of negativity breeding negativity. Having a negative outlook on life can paint an awful picture of the world around us, and having a good hard look in the mirror is what can really make you see who the true artist behind your picture is.
And Jake, what is the metal scene like in Australia right now?
The metal scene here in Australia is just massive and keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. It's so diverse, and there's so many quality bands here in Australia in every genre, really. It's so great to see as well that there's so many doing well on the international stage.
And Jake, what about endorsements? What endorsements do you guys have?
The band's currently endorsed by Jackson Guitars, Dean Markley Strings, and Amp Tweaker Pedals.
And Jake, tell us really quick as we're winding down the interview what shows that you guys have coming up.
The first release tour that's been announced is an Australian tour supporting a band from the United States, Rings of Saturn, along with good friends in Australia, Hollow World. There's plenty more to be announced soon for Europe and the United States, as well as some more release shows.
And Jake, what sites can people go to learn more about the band, where you're playing, and that kind of thing?
You can find the band and follow us on all the usual social media outlets: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, also on iTunes, Spotify, and the new film clips are up now. Check them out.
So there you guys go. Eternal Rest has a new album out called The Picture of Hatred. They're also going to be embarking on some shows. If you want to learn more about the band, you could go over to their Facebook page. And again, thank you guys for coming on the show, telling us a little bit about the band, and good luck on the tour as well as the new album.
That's no worries at all. Thanks again.